Hello and welcome to our episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby. We are here at the FIX EMEA Trading Conference in London, and it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Madeleine Boys. Madeleine, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. And good morning, my name is Madeleine Boys. I work for Global Digital Finance, and in that capacity I head up our programs and innovation. I actually just got off the panel here at FIX Trading Community where we spoke all things tokenization and digital assets, which are certainly an essential theme today, so I'm delighted to be here.
Fantastic. Well, listen, that's a panel which I was recording elsewhere, so I couldn't get across to. It's one which I've seen the panelists, seen the conversation. It feels like it's very current. It feels like it's very important. So give us a few of the ideas about what you were talking about, some of the takeaways. What was your messages that you wanted to take away first and foremost?
Yeah, sure. So I think the panel really went through, some of the key themes that all firms are thinking about now when we're thinking all things digital assets, and how to build out digital asset tokenization strategies, and this really push towards institutional adoption of those new digital technologies and asset classes. We started off by speaking about regulation, and I think thinking about regulation as an enabler for market participation, institutional participation in these markets. Yeah. So looking particularly here in the UK, for example, one of the considerations around the digital securities sandbox and the counterpart in the EU, of course, being the EU pilot regime, how is enabling firms participating in this space. We spoke at length also about questions around standardization and interoperability, which will come as no surprise, but are key themes when we think about firms and institutions being able to build out their digital asset practices. So a couple of standards and key topics within the standardization conversation of note would include the work that, for example, Anna, the DTI Foundation, the Global LEI Foundation are working on, so that holy trinity of standards covering the asset level, whether it's with the ISINs, the token level with the DTIs, and then of course the entity level with the LEIs, and that complementarity sort of across the different standards. We've also spoke about the common domain model, which was sort of brought to market by ICMA, ISDA, and some of the financial market associations, a machine-readable and executable standard to manage automation and lifecycle management of various assets being traded, and how that in and of itself is complementary with digital asset lifecycles and how it enables that. We also spoke about, highly relevant to the work that I do at GDF, the collaboration partnership that we ran with FIX Trading Community last year, looking at enabling the FIX and P2P Protocol Interoperability Alliance. And that alliance really tested out how firms who use a FIX router, which is a language model really in financial services for everything from pre-equity to at trade and post-trade as well, how any firm with a FIX router would be able to use that to integrate into using the P2P protocol, integrate into all things digital assets. And so I think the lineage here for me was really, there's a lot of standards that underpin financial markets, and it's great to see, instead of talking about the challenges around interoperability, how industry is leveraging those standards, what already exists, what is widely adopted, and utilizing it to just really expand into the growing sort of digital asset portfolios and becoming more part and parcel of traditional finance.
So that's quite a conversation.
It was.
So let's talk about GDF, particularly your company. Tell us a little bit about where you're fitting into the jigsaw. What's exciting for you at the moment? Obviously, you're here today. You're embedded with FIX. You're working on in the community. Tell us a little bit about what's happening for you. What's exciting for you this year? Because it does feel like we've had various cycles within the digital asset space, and this one feels different.
I mean, I like to think so, but then again, we have been going to conferences now for 5-6 years, where the headline is always, are the institutions here? But I would argue that they are here now. So now is the time, and I think we really have seen that sort of transition from proof of concept environments into production, and that was another key message from me from the panel, was I think talking about how firms are really building out their monetization strategies and thinking about how to develop use cases for all things digital assets. And that brings us back to a lot of the work that GDF enables. So we're an industry association similar to the likes of ICMA, is the traditional finance market associations in terms of the structure, but we work with digital asset native firms all the way to large institutions. And what we do is enable an open innovation community where we foster best practice standards for digital assets. Now that sort of materializes in different ways, shapes and forms. We do a lot of direct advocacy work by sitting between industry, policymakers and regulators, responding to consultations, engaging bilaterally with them. And then we have a more sort of innovative and technological focused remit, which is what I oversee in my day-to-day job, which is looking at how we can run initiatives and programs that enable really institutions and market participants building out digital asset adoption. And so the FIX and P2P collaboration, for example, is a very good example of an initiative that GDF was very proud to run with FIX trading community, really showcasing and bringing together the right market participants to enable a pilot like that. At the moment, I think a particular attention for us is one of the big use cases around tokenized money market funds and how they can be used as collateral for derivatives margin trading. Again, that's a highlight use case that we're seeing a lot of institutions in particular think, okay, this is a starting point for a monetization strategy. We're looking at huge market with huge amounts of trapped collateral in global financial markets. I think according to BCG, the numbers it's about $100 billion, $20 billion worth of savings possible when we're thinking about tokenized money market funds and tokenizing that collateral. So we're running a work stream on that with quite a large cohort of market participants really to bring to life the pilots and a strong research component that showcases how we can actually realize that. And I think those are the most exciting projects at GDF from my perspective, where it's really us using our platform, our convening mechanism to enable these interesting pilot and use cases for firms to take that away and actually go make this work.
It's such an interesting space, and great to hear what we're doing. I'd love to sort of dive into it in more detail. But let's finish this conversation today by thinking back to the panel again, going back to what you were talking about. You're very eloquent in everything you said. There's a lot to cover and all of that. But if you're sort of going away and you're thinking of the audience, you're saying, right, one message for people to take away, what you'd like them to walk away with in terms of the future, the opportunity, everything around that sort of space. What would you want that to be?
I think my silver lining comment would be the time is now.
Yeah.
The time is now. Institutions are here. They're building. The market is growing, and the opportunities are becoming clearer and clearer with the business cases and the monetization strategies actually amounting to something clear, concise, and understandable. And I think the second tenet to that would be that standards exist. They underpin financial markets, and those are being utilized and leveraged to better enable conversions between TradFi and digital assets. The time is now, and soon enough we won't be knowing what the difference between the two is anymore.
Exactly right. Yeah, I think so pleased you said that. I've done panels and conversations before about restoring trust in digital assets, about building trust in digital assets, about this convergence of TradFi and DeFi. And I love the way you put that, but actually in the future you're just not even going to be able to tell. And that's absolutely where I see. So I love that the time is now. You heard it here first. Madeleine, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you
well done
very
today.
much.
And thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV. Thanks a lot.